Welcome to our CBN News Showcase special. We begin with a radical sex education curriculum being pushed in Canadian public schools by the LGBT community.
That's right, Ephraim. It has parents afraid their children will become confused and even brainwashed. But as I discovered on my recent trip to Canada, there could be a silver lining. The issue just might awaken a sleeping church.
A family can be made up in many different ways.
It's called SOGI, for Sexual Orientation and Gender Identification, a curriculum that teaches public school students across Canada to celebrate the homosexual lifestyle and that gender is fluid. In other words, your gender is not dependent on what parts you were born with, but rather what you feel like in the moment.
There's people that are boys, there's people that are girls, there are people whose gender might be a little bit of both, or might even be neither.
Lessons include books about transgender children, such as 10,000 Dresses, and songs like the Rainbow Song.
Gender won't decide the choices we make. Some boys like dressing up, some girls like catching snakes.
The SOGI curriculum started in British Columbia in 2016 and is quickly spreading throughout Canada.
I just thought, who decided that this was okay to teach our children?
Author and inspirational speaker Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson is a leading voice against the SOGI curriculum.
And we are seeing the results of that now because some kids are reacting very emotionally and saying, and they're in fear. Will I suddenly struggle with feeling like a different gender inside of my body?
Carrie Simpson of Culture Guard, another leading opponent, calls the curriculum nothing short of child abuse.
All those beautiful qualities that make young girls, beautiful girls and women, are being basically vilified. The things that make our boys boys are being, taken from them. So things of equating young men to being strong protectors is something that's now evil.
But Morgan Auger, a transsexual and supporter, claims it's about acceptance, not indoctrination.
The idea is to teach kids that there are gay kids and there are trans kids and there are trans parents and gay parents in our society, and everybody's wanted and desired. After all, that's what our Human Rights Code says, and it's the role of schools to teach the following of our laws, right?
Simpson disagrees, saying she sees SOGI's real goal as
altering our culture from a heteronormative society into one where anything goes, no boundaries, no values, no morals. It's a hedonistic cult, basically, what they're implying.
Another blaring example, drag queen story time. It's happening in Canada and America, where some public schools and libraries invite drag queens, some dressed like horned demons, to read to young children.
And it's a social deconstructionist agenda. They're using children, little 5-year-olds, to accomplish this. And parents are waking up and saying no.
When asked about parents' rights, Auger says,
well, actually, in Canada, parents' rights are limited and children's rights are put ahead. So the child has the right to be protected from the parents when the parents behave badly.
Canada is known as one of the most gay-friendly countries in the world, with many of their largest cities featuring their own gay villages, like here in Vancouver, which has literally rolled out the Rainbow Road. Most gays, like village resident Dave Davy DiCarlo, support SOGI and limiting parental rights.
The change that we have to see is sometimes the parents, and the kids are doing actually really okay.
This is very scary stuff.
Longtime Vancouver area pastor Kevin Kavanaugh says this is far more serious than most Canadian Christians realize.
Our problem is not the teachers, the educators, the administrators. This is a battle in the heavenlies.
He says Satan is going after their most vulnerable, the children.
And the little girl came home in tears because the teacher had told her, since she was playing with some toys in the class that were deemed to be masculine in nature, that she was likely a boy in a girl's body. The mother went to the school the very next day, and instead of having any sort of tolerance or support or understanding, she was actually called names. She was told that she was a homophobe, that she was a bigot.
With that in mind, Tyler Thompson, Simpson, and Pastor Kevin are spreading their message across social media and in town hall meetings. The pro-gay backlash has been fierce.
And the hatred and the anger and the bullying that came against us, even though we said, we love you, we don't take from you the opportunity and the freedom to live as you choose. We love you, but we do not agree with you.
Pastor Kevin believes Canadian Christians are in a 2 Chronicles 20 moment.
The word was this battle is not yours, Jehoshaphat. This battle is the Lord's.
And the church is beginning to prepare for what it takes to fight for our kids.
The battle between an aggressive homosexual agenda and the faith community in Canada is far from over. But many Christian leaders say it may be the issue that causes the church to rise up and be heard.
Going down now to our southern border where President Trump promised to build a wall, but he's facing opposition. Heather Sells traveled to Arizona to see what people there think about it.
On his 50,000-acre ranch in southern Arizona, Jim Chilton puts out salt for his cattle and keeps an eye out for the smugglers and illegal immigrants that cross his border property. His surveillance video tells the story.
I have evidence, hard evidence, of people coming through, and they're mainly drug packers bringing into the United States marijuana, cocaine, meth, and heroin.
His front porch collection offers another part of the story: abandoned carpet shoes used to erase telltale footprints by those who cross illegally.
Sinaloa cartel.
Chilton took CBN News on a bumpy 2-hour drive for a closer look at the border on his land. Along the way, he talked of his encounters with people on the run.
Turned this corner here, and about 20 guys dressed in camouflage with big backpacks ran right up this way and up this hill. They were all in camouflage, and the guy in front had an AK-47.
It's clear to Chilton and the Border Patrol that the Sinaloa drug cartel deploys scouts on this land to guide smugglers to safety. One time, Chilton reported the discovery of 4 marijuana bales, well aware that the cartels could take revenge against him. Later, we parked and walked a few hundred feet to the line that has led to so many headlines and political debates.
This is the international boundary.
Behind me on the Mexican side, there are a number of roads, and that indicates that this has become a prime spot for entry. Both illegal immigrants and drug smugglers like this area because there's only a barbed wire fence, very simple, separating the U.S. and Mexico, and also we're several hours away from the nearest Border Patrol station.
That part's a sore point with Chilton. Although we spotted several agents along our journey, the shortcomings are obvious. No easy access for response to border trouble, no patrol presence along the actual border, and a barbed wire fence that may deter cattle, but certainly not people. That's why for more than a decade, Chilton has pushed for something more.
It's just very obvious that you need a wall, you need a road next to it, and you need forward operation bases.
Chilton and other ranchers here believe the U.S. must secure the entire southern border, all 1,989 miles of it. They believe this 20-foot-high fence in nearby Nogales has simply funneled illegals towards them. Rancher Dan Bell showed us where that Nogales fence ends on his property and reverts back to barbed wire.
It's as simple as for people coming through in large groups, just getting a pair of wire cutters and cutting through the fence.
Bell feels a little better about security than Chilton, and for good reason. His ranch is closer to the Nogales Border Patrol station, and
we've had some road systems put in, we've had technology come in, and with the addition of those and more agents in the area, we have seen improvement.
Bell admits, however, that gaps remain and he feels unsafe on parts of his ranch.
In the areas when we're more remote, where we don't have cell phone service, where there's very few roads, and they're far and few between, you do think about things like that. And what's your plan going to be in case you do have a confrontation?
Not everyone on the border agrees with the president's plan to build a new wall. that includes many residents in Nogales and Sheriff Tony Estrada.
It sounds good to everybody. Okay, we got a problem with illegal immigration, with drugs. We'll just build a wall, and that'll stop everything. That's a fantasy. It's a fantasy. It'll help, but it's not going to solve the problem.
Estrada says people will always find ways to go over or under physical barriers. A wall, he says, doesn't address the real problem.
You have to look at what is bringing people here.
That, he says, is the drug trade and the promise of opportunity that the United States offers. In the last 2 decades, U.S. dollars spent on border security have kept going up, and the number of Border Patrol agents has increased 500%. While Estrada believes that money could be better spent, ranchers like Chilton and Bell believe it's helped to reduce the flow of immigration and drugs. Chilton argues that a wall would help lower costs like prosecuting immigrants and fighting forest fires started by drug packers. For now, he and Bell maintain an uneasy truce with those vying for control of their land. In the spirit of compassion, both maintain multiple drinking fountains to provide life-saving relief to those who need it. Still, they remain vigilant for any encounter.
When those instances happen, you go opposite ways, and that's it. And you say good morning, and you go the opposite way, and hope for the best.
It's pretty frightening, but I'm a cowboy, not a wimp. I'm sticking here.
Reporting on the border in Arizona, Heather Sells, CBN News.
I'm a cowboy, not a wimp.
You got it.
Famous last words there. All right, great story, Heather. We appreciate that. Well, Christianity is growing faster in Iran than in any other country in the world, even though the population is overwhelmingly Muslim.
In fact, tens of thousands are abandoning Islam. Our George Thomas has the story of one small group that recently took part in a mass baptism.
On a recent Friday, 600 miles east of Tehran, not too far from the Afghanistan-Turkmenistan border, 20 Iranians prepared for a secret journey out of their country. For their safety, we've concealed their identities and changed their names.
I've been waiting for this moment for nearly 9 years.
The mission took months to prepare. It was fraught with danger.
This was my wish before I die.
Afarin helped arrange their travel.
The moment the Iranian government discovers someone has changed their religion, they will try everything to stop the person from sharing their new faith with others.
Most of these new Christians paid a price for abandoning Islam.
The government scares Christians, imprisons them, fires them from their jobs, kicks them out of school, and many other tactics, all in an effort to stop them from evangelizing.
Afarin knew what they were about to experience could land them in trouble. CBN News met them shortly after they left Iran. Due to the sensitive nature of this report, CBN News has agreed not to reveal our location nor the names of the individuals associated with the story. And this is why they left Iran for a few days. For the first time, all 20 followed Christ in baptism.
Inside Iran, if the government found out that you were baptized, you would be automatic imprisonment. And so rather than do that inside their country, they came outside for a special event like this.
One by one, the young and old got dunked. Men, women, and children, all of whom renounced Muhammad and professed their faith in Jesus Christ, in a swimming pool rented for the occasion. 53-year-old Faribors waited 10 years for this moment.
I accepted Christ when I was 43 years old. There was no way for me to get baptized in Iran because of the dangers we face. Today, my faith is complete.
16-year-old Sarah accepted Christ 4 years ago.
I became a Christian after seeing Jesus in a dream. As I was getting baptized this morning, I felt the Holy Spirit come upon me in a new way.
Entire families got baptized.
It feels very good. I'm very happy. My whole family is happy.
Mike Ansari, an Iranian by birth, is director of operations at Mohabbat TV.
شبکه محبت از آغاز تولد خود
In 2006, it became the first 24-hour Farsi Christian channel to beam gospel programs into Iran. The majority baptized this weekend came to faith by watching Mohabbat TV.
Some of these believers waited for many, many years to be baptized. They want to tell the world that they belong to Jesus. They want to tell the world that what was before is dead and now they're a new creation.
Ansari says many Iranians, especially the young, feel disillusioned with Islam, and record numbers are turning to this channel to learn more about Christianity.
Roughly about 16 million Iranians within the last 12 months have viewed one or more of our programs on satellite TV and also on their mobile devices. That roughly translates to about 20% of Iran's population. And that is an overwhelming number.
Nathan Rastampour led a house church in Iran for 10 years until he was forced to flee because of religious persecution. Now he hosts a show on Mohabbat TV, teaching folks how to safely run a house church inside Iran.
God is using this house church show to not only share the gospel, but also to equip the house churches and make leaders.
After a few days of fellowship, teaching, and encouragement, the 20 believers returned to Iran, energized and committed to sharing the love of Christ with their countrymen. Ansari says these exclusive images should encourage Christians that God is moving on the hearts of Iranians.
There's a lot of good news that is coming out of Iran, and we need to focus on that and celebrate that. We're hoping that the results that are being shared with the church in the West would encourage the body of Christ in the Western world, that God is very much alive among Muslims and he's doing a great job.
George Thomas, CBN News. Somewhere in the Middle East.
Up next, 3/4 of all heroin addicts started with prescription painkillers. See what's being done to fight America's epidemic opioid addiction.
Be a part of the moment. Real-time coverage, live engagement, exclusive content. Only on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at CBN News.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts, in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Prayer is a communication with God. It's a powerful exchange between God and man. We're going to answer many of your questions in Answered Prayer, how to pray effectively and see God work in your life.
In Pat Robertson's latest DVD, Answered Prayer, you'll learn the biblical principles of prayer and how to get your prayers answered. And hear miraculous stories of answers to prayer from Pat's own faith-filled journey.
We share some of the lessons that I've learned along the way.
Plus, you'll see dramatic, true stories of life-changing answers to prayer.
God proves himself time and time again.
He's in the room with us, answering people's prayers.
I think I survived because God has a bigger plan for my life.
The doctor was just like, I've never seen anything like this before.
He hears your prayers.
I never saw this coming.
Every great work of God is preceded by prayer.
Answered Prayer. How to pray effectively and see God work in your life. Call now or go to CBN.com.
Welcome back. At least 91 people die every day in America from opioid overdoses. They include heroin and its chemical cousins, prescription painkillers. Lori Johnson shows us just how bad it is in Ohio, which has 11% of the nation's heroin deaths.
Ohio police discover a 4-year-old with his grandmother and her boyfriend both overdosed on heroin. Scenes far too common these days, especially in America's rural areas. Heroin is transforming wholesome small towns across the Buckeye State. For example, here in Marion, one of the hardest hit areas, police responded to 12 heroin overdoses in just 3 days. Matt Gossard fought a heroin addiction for 5 years.
And the drugs, they just completely deaden any emotions that you have. I turned to crime. I turned to anything I had to do to get the drugs. I started selling drugs.
Like 3/4 of all heroin addicts, Matt's descent started with prescription painkillers.
Because it's almost the same thing, except for heroin's just stronger and it's cheaper and it's more available, which is the scary part.
Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine created a specific heroin unit to take on this epidemic. He says the drug no longer comes from faraway places like Afghanistan.
A number of years ago, the Mexican cartels decided to grow the poppies there. They process it down there. They turn it into heroin. They bring it across our southern border, and they bring it into Ohio and into other states.
The desire for the ultimate high has led to even deadlier concoctions, including the synthetic painkiller fentanyl and elephant tranquilizer carfentanil.
We'll see sometimes in a weekend one community where there'll be 5, 10, 15 people die.
DeWine wants education on this problem starting as early as kindergarten. He's also gone to Ohio's church leaders for help.
The programs that work, the treatment that works, many times has a faith-based component part to it.
Matt can vouch for that. After a number of failed attempts, the Christian Treatment Center finally made the difference.
I believe that Jesus Christ is the only answer. I believe that there is no other answer other than Christ.
He now leads a Christian recovery ministry that works with the Attorney General and pastors across Ohio to ensure each church in the state offers an addiction specialist.
There's somebody in every church in this state that has been affected by addiction, I guarantee it.
Here at the state capitol in Columbus, officials are clamping down on where many believe heroin addiction starts, in the doctor's office. Now, physicians are only allowed to prescribe 1 week's worth of painkillers or risk losing their license to practice medicine. The law only applies to short-term pain relief, such as the kind following surgery. Before, doctors would often prescribe enough for a full month.
We had a number of pharmaceutical companies that developed pain meds, and they were pushing those out, and they were telling the doctors, these are not very addictive. Turns out they are very addictive.
Doctors can still prescribe painkillers for people with chronic or long-term pain, but is that the right treatment? Dr. Vibhor Krishna, a neurosurgeon at the Ohio State Medical Center, says they can cause memory loss and constipation.
These pain medications are not that effective if you take them long-term. Plus, what it does is it inhibits the body's internal pain control systems.
Dr. Krishna recommends non-opioid pain relief, including surgery, acupuncture, steroid injections, weight loss and exercise, heat, and an anti-inflammatory diet high in vegetables, low in sugar. Still, pain meds are extremely common among the 100 million Americans with chronic pain.
It was constant. It was all the time. I never had any time without pain.
Despite her chronic back pain, Andrea Flannery refused to take opioids.
It's too easy to get hooked on the pain medicine. I know a lot of people that have, and it destroys your life.
Instead, Dr. Krishna implanted a small electrode on the surface of her spinal cord. It receives pulses from a little pacemaker, therefore blocking the pain impulse.
A typical patient would be someone who has had back surgery before, are still having back pain and leg pain, and are taking a significant amount of pain medications.
Most patients with stimulators experience some relief, about a third pain-free.
It's been night and day. It's been wonderful. I don't even really notice that I have it in. You get used to the feeling.
So while the heroin crisis rages, people are fighting back with awareness, Christ-centered treatment, and minimizing pain pills. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
The White House is pointing to crime-fighting methods in Texas as an example for the nation to follow. The Lone Star State's crime rate is falling, and it's actually putting fewer people behind bars. John Jessup shows us what they're doing.
All rise.
As a former police officer, prosecutor, and judge, Robert Newsom would appear to typify Texas law and order. When he judges cases, however, Newsom follows two other principles: justice and compassion.
So my judicial philosophy is, yes, I believe in the law, I promote the law, I'll stand with the law. But on the other hand, there's a place for mercy built into our law.
Sulphur Springs boasts this picture-perfect town square, but like most stories, life has many twists and turns. One such turn began 20 years ago when Judge Newsom met a young man in his courthouse who was on the wrong side of the law.
Well, this is the courtroom where I was sentenced to 5 99-year sentences.
Ron Atkins fell into a life of crime at 14. After a string of burglaries, a jury hammered him with almost 500 years in prison. At 22 and with no hope of ever leaving lockdown, Ron lashed out.
So I set about making a reputation for myself, making a life for myself in the prison. You know, I became really violent.
He joined a prison gang, fought inmates and staff, and racked up 250 prison violations. That put him in solitary, where he would eventually spend 13 years. Alone and suicidal, he says he turned to God and a worn-out Bible.
Half the pages were missing because I've been using it for rolling papers. I've been smoking cigarettes with Bible paper. All that was left of the Bible was the New Testament.
Ron learned about grace, forgiveness, and God's love, so he left the gang for a Bible study. In 2012, Ron experienced his first miracle, a surprise review that resulted in parole more than 80 years before his projected release in 2095.
I didn't even think it was real till I actually got out of the gate.
Once out of prison, he found work and also began sharing his story at churches and conferences.
Father God, Lord, I love you and I thank you.
That's how he met his wife, also a former felon, and now an ordained minister and a licensed Christian counselor. Then, one day while sitting in church, he ran into someone from his past.
It dawned on me. I told the pastor, I said, you know what? I think that's the judge who sentenced me to 5 99-year sentences. He's like, no, I don't think so.
Afterwards, I went up to Ron.
Came up to me and he was like,
I said, are we okay?
You know, I just felt my heart go out to him, you know.
And he grabbed me and hugged me, you know, real big.
It was good.
Burying their past, the judge and the man he put away forged a future based on faith.
I never did go to prison. I never did do some of the things that Ron has done, but I'm a sinner saved by grace, just like Ron is. We're brothers. We're brothers.
This new relationship includes getting together each week at Judge Newsom's home.
Come on in, everybody.
Where neighbors, family, and other former convicts spend time together singing and praying.
To go in the judge's living room and have them treat me just like one of the family, you know, it was just really awesome. And God's just developed a relationship where him and his wife, they're like mama and papa to me, you know.
And the ripple effect of this unlikely story expands much further into the community. Not long after Ron stepped out of prison, he returned to the place where he was once jailed to share a message of freedom to men searching for hope and purpose.
Don't ever discount anything with God, because once He's in your life, He's working through every detail, man.
In the room next door, his wife Dawn shares her story with the women in jail. Ron's relationship with Judge Newsom opened the door for him to reach others who identify with his story. They cling to his every word, eager to experience the spiritual freedom he proclaims.
Let's give it all to God and let's get set free. Let's get some forgiveness in your heart. You know what's in their lives, Lord. I just pray you reveal it to them, God.
While critics question the merits of faith-based prison programs, Sheriff Tatum tells CBN News this one makes a difference. Through Ron and Dawn's ministry, inmates, and even some staff have been baptized. According to Judge Newsom, it sparked a mini revival in the county. Ron believes this new chapter is evidence of God rewriting his past to create a lasting legacy.
In the very place where I was sentenced to die in prison, he was going to use us to bring dead things back to life. And that's what he's doing. In the jail, in the worship nights, in the prayer meetings, he's just bringing dead things alive.
John Jessup, CBN News, in Sulphur Springs, Texas.
Speechless. The power of Jesus right there.
Bringing dead things to life.
Amen.
Amazing.
Well, we got some good news to talk about
Yes,
now.
indeed.
No matter which screen you use to follow CBN News, you'll find stories showcasing God's power to redeem and restore.
Caitlin Burke looks at recent stories that scored big with our web audience, plus a new way that you can dig even deeper into CBN News online.
A miraculous testimony from gospel singer Blair Monique Walker reached more than 45,000 people on CBNnews.com in 2017. Through social media, the Christian artist announced she'd been diagnosed with uterine cancer and would need a hysterectomy, leaving her unable to have children. Then, during a checkup just days before the surgery, her doctor found no sign of cancer. His exact words, "It looks like your God removed all of your tumors and left you with a baby." Yes, Walker was pregnant. A potential terrorist turned follower of Jesus drew great reaction from our viewers. Rita Shaima grew so unhappy with her world that she made up her mind to join ISIS in Syria. Then her mom brought home some free books, including a Bible. Initially, Shaima read the Bible to prove Christians wrong. Instead, she found she could not resist the love of Jesus. Then, during her baptism, something incredible happened.
When I got baptized in water, a demon manifested, and it wasn't me at all. I don't even remember what I did. I had to see in the video of my baptism, and I was completely crazy. The demon was crazy. It wasn't me. I hit Jon. He baptized me. I hit him. And I said sorry.
Peace finally came over her and she was set free. Now Shaima travels sharing her testimony. Rounding out our list is the tremendous interest in pop star Justin Bieber's faith journey.
God is good in the midst of the darkness. God is good in the midst of the evil. God is in the midst.
That speech came during the One Love Manchester concert last June after a terror attack killed 22 people at an Ariana Grande concert. Bieber posted about his faith frequently on social media in 2017, including on Instagram, where he said, "Jesus is changing me from the inside out every day."
Just before the end of 2017, we launched the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast. Each day, I take listeners behind the scenes into the top headlines through interviews with my CBN News colleagues. You can find it on our CBN News homepage and your favorite podcast platform.
Thanks, Caitlin. Up next, a Christian woman flees to Sweden seeking a safe haven from persecution in her homeland. Now, a policy change could send her back.
In uncertain times, nothing matters like the truth. That's the strength of CBN News. We pursue stories that make a difference.
Political situation in this country has been tumultuous.
From the world's most powerful city
The White House asked for emergency Zika funding
to its biblical center.
2 mortars just hit. One was about 300 yards away.
No other Christian organization puts the resources and experience into covering the news you care about.
That's the power of CBN News.
Did you know this can affect this? Healthy fats, such as those found in avocados, reduce inflammation and may help decrease your risk of brain disease.
But it turns out that fat is wonderful for your body, it's terrific for your brain, it's powerfully good nutrition.
Discover more information as well as simple strategies for brain health in the Christian Broadcasting Network's Protect Your Brain. It's free. Call now or go to cbn.com to supercharge your health.
Prayer is a communication with God. It's a powerful exchange between God and man. We're going to answer many of your questions in Answered Prayer, how to pray effectively and see God work in your life.
In Pat Robertson's latest DVD, Answered Prayer, you'll learn the biblical principles of prayer and how to get your prayers answered. and hear miraculous stories of answers to prayer from Pat's own faith-filled journey.
We share some of the lessons that I've learned along the way.
Plus, you'll see dramatic, true stories of life-changing answers to prayer.
God proves himself time and time again.
He's in the room with us, answering people's prayers.
I think I survived because God has a bigger plan for my life.
The doctor was just like, I've never seen anything like this before.
He hears your prayers.
I never saw this coming.
Every great work of God is preceded by prayer.
Answered Prayer. How to pray effectively and see God work in your life. Call now or go to CBN.com.
Just a few years ago, Sweden allowed more migrants to enter the country than the rest of Europe combined. But now the Swedes have yanked the welcome mat. And as CBN's Dale Hurd reports, Christians are being sent back to their home countries to face imprisonment and torture.
Sweden is about to deport Iranian Christian actress Aydin Strandsen back to the Islamic Republic of Iran, where she faces torture, rape, and even death in an Iranian prison. But as Swedish officials have told Aydin, becoming a Christian was her decision, and now it's her problem, and not theirs. This from a nation that thinks of itself as one of the most humane countries in the world.
After all, Sweden is the humanitarian superpower which welcomed refugees with open arms until the government took too much political heat and decided some have to go, whether it kills them or not.
Sweden's migration board even violates its own stated principles, that it will never deport asylum seekers to a nation where they will be harmed.
The migration board has on its home page information about each country. And in the information regarding Iran, there are plenty of reports stating that it is standard to torture and to rape in Iranian prisons. And the question we have been asking the Migration Board time and time again is, why are you putting this information on your homepage if you don't follow it?
Swedish attorney Gabriel Donner has assisted an estimated 1,000 Christian asylum seekers facing deportation.
Do you think in Aydin's case, they think she's lying, or they just don't care?
Primarily, they don't care. It's numbers. They have promised the public in Sweden that they will deport more people than before. And so they have to fill the quota.
Aydin Strandsen came to Sweden in 2014 on a work visa and adopted a Swedish last name. She had starred in films and a TV series in Iran, making her an even bigger target if she is sent back. She says she came to Christ in Iran after seeing video of Muslims stoning a woman to death.
And I decided that moment I don't want to be Muslim anymore.
And then she had a dream.
I had a dream about Jesus. He was sitting near me and he took my hand.
In Iran, where it can be deadly to convert to Christianity, Aydin kept her conversion largely a secret. But when she came to Sweden, she requested a public baptism.
I want to have it baptized in a public because I want to say I don't afraid anymore. I'm free, I'm Christian. I want everybody know about that.
Iranian intelligence most likely knows too. She's already gotten threats from Muslims on social media. Article 33 of the Geneva Convention on Refugees, which Sweden signed, prohibits nations from deporting asylum seekers back to their home countries if they face danger. But that hasn't stopped Sweden. CBN News has interviewed several Christians in Sweden facing danger because of the threat of deportation to Islamic nations. Donner estimates there are 8,000 Christian asylum seekers hiding in Sweden because they're under deportation orders. He says part of the problem is that migration officials don't understand why someone would become a Christian, and they don't understand what it means to be a Christian. Less than 20% of Swedes say they believe in God.
This is most apparent when they come to the question when a convert says, I converted because of the love I have received from Jesus Christ. And they almost mockingly ask the convert, what do you mean by love? They don't understand the message in the Bible. It's just completely alien to them.
The Swedish Migration Board's press officer told us, if the person has well-founded reasons to fear persecution due to religious beliefs, he or she will be granted asylum in Sweden. But Aydin's asylum request has been rejected, and her case has been turned over to border police. At her hearing, a Swedish migration official told her it wouldn't be as bad for her in Iran as she expected, because she would only have to spend about 6 months in prison. Donner told us of a similar case where an Iranian woman was imprisoned for becoming a Christian.
After her release, she was silent. She did not tell what had happened. After 6 weeks, she threw herself out from a window on the 4th floor and killed herself.
But stories like that may not stop Aydin's deportation.
6 months as a woman in a prison is no problem.
No,
They don't care.
no, they don't care about it.
And Dale Hurd joins us now with more on this heartbreaking story. So Dale, where does this case stand now?
She's still in limbo, Ephraim. She can't work. She could be deported at any time, but I don't think that's going to happen. We're going to visit her in a few weeks, film her, and we'll update folks with her situation.
We look forward to that. As you pointed out, Sweden is supposedly known for its humanitarian acts. What has changed?
Well, I think old Swedish humanitarianism was at least vaguely based on Christian charity. This new humanitarianism is based on political correctness, and I don't think it's authentic. I think it's a fashion. And why do I say that? Because when they bring these people in, these immigrants from the non-Western world, the elites usually don't want anything to do with them. They put them into ghettos.
Real quick, where do things stand with the immigration policy in Sweden now?
It's in absolute turmoil. It's become a major political issue. More and more Swedes are becoming anti-immigrant and going to anti-immigrant parties.
All right, Dale Hurd, thank you so much for that report. We look forward to the update.
The Iraqi city of Mosul is now free of ISIS. During the bloody effort to drive out the jihad army, one ministry put itself on the front lines to provide medical relief and the gospel. Our Chris Mitchell reports one brave rescue captured the hearts of millions.
It's a sprint between life and death that's gone viral. 12 seconds that showed true sacrifice to a world searching for hope. Now seen and shared by millions. Dave Eubank of the Free Burma Rangers told CBN News why he risked his own life to save the 6-year-old Iraqi girl.
For love, I'd want someone to save my kid. And I think whenever you're terrified, you should first ask, am I supposed to do this? Ask God that, not yourself. Ask God. And if he says do it, then ask for love. Because when you're really scared, you need love. And when you have love, you'll do anything for anyone. So love is what makes you really brave. And God gave me enough of that to run across, grab the girl.
And that's not the only heroics shown by Eubank and his team.
We're here to try to rescue this little girl. We're in ISIS territory, surrounded by them. Lord Jesus, help us get her out. In Jesus' name, amen.
She made it too.
Okay, you're gonna be okay. God bless you in Jesus' name. She's alive.
Jesus, you saved me. I want to be with you, helping others. And that's what the Free Burma Rangers is about.
Eubank started his Frontlines ministry 20 years ago in Burma. 3 years ago, they answered the call to come to Iraq, Syria, and Kurdistan.
Our mission is to give help, mostly that's medical help, and hope, reminding people they're not forgotten, and love, saying that we love you, and even if you have nothing left, we're with you, and God loves you. And you can call on his name. God sent Jesus to save us, and you can call on him anytime.
His team showed that love to the people of Mosul and the Iraqi army during the fight to free the city from ISIS. As Islamic State fighters fired at people trying to escape, the Free Burma Rangers rushed into the killing zone. Eubank tried to save this wounded Muslim woman, but she died. Yet in the midst of this carnage, Eubank's wife Karen and their 3 children bring fun, games, and the gospel. Karen explains it began back in Burma to help neighbors in trouble.
It was very natural to go to people that you knew, churches that you knew, villages that you knew. And then as those villages were in conflict, it was still natural because you want to help people that you love. And so we would stay with the families there. And as things were intense and fighting increased on the front line, we would still stay with the families.
Now their children say it's natural to help the people of Iraq.
Well, we wouldn't be there if it wasn't for God. We feel very blessed to have this opportunity and that he's put us in there. Not many people get to go to Mosul and get to help there in that area. And so we feel very blessed to be there. I mean, of course, there's always the danger of being shot. And so we also feel blessed that he's protected us through all of this and that we're all still alive.
I call them the epitome of high-risk mission work because they're the tip of the spear, providing medical treatment, hope, love, praying with people, bearing their burdens, and it's a loving sacrifice. It's a great example as far as being a light in a very dark place.
CBN News joined Eubank on the front lines and found a man of constant prayer.
We can't take care of everybody, but you can take care of the person in front of you.
Yeah. And are these some of the kids that you're trying to take care of?
Yes, they've been out here 3 days. And we have food, but it's the same thing every day. It's all we got. And some water. So I'm going to pray real quick.
Yeah, let's do
Lord
it.
Jesus, help these people go to a safe place and a good place tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Remember that little Iraqi girl that Dave saved? The team found a Superbook video for her to watch, a gospel tool Karen finds invaluable.
One other thing that I've really loved is being able to give kids exciting stories, and Superbook has been a big blessing in my ministry, as with kids there. It says in that indigenous language things that I can't say in full, and the beautiful animation goes a long way in places where there is no media. So thank you, Superbook team, for letting us share that in very restricted foreign areas. We've been able to show Superbook in Karen language, in Burmese, in Arabic, to frontline communities. And that's a bit of encouragement as well as normal life. We get to watch a video and we get to watch fun stories of God's faithfulness. So Superbook is a big blessing.
Now on a speaking tour in the States, Eubank brings a message back to America.
Without emails that said be bold, without words from Scripture that people just woke up in the middle of the night and felt they're supposed to give us, those all came back to me. A greater love hath no man than this, he laid down his life for his friends. This verse came to me at a time I wanted to be afraid and not do something. And thank you, church, for praying for us and everywhere you pray and do. It makes an eternal difference. Be kingdom focused. Where does God want me? How am I to pray? And know that the power of Jesus will defeat Satan.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News.
Coming up, her son was taken from her just months after birth, but this mother never gave up hope of seeing him again. See her faith rewarded next.
CBNnews.com. News you want, when you want, 24/7. Stay current with up-to-the-minute stories.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News, New York.
I don't have to wait for my news anymore.
CBNnews.com at your fingertips all day long.
I only watch the stories I want to see.
I find the story, I click on it, and boom, I'm there.
John Jessup, CBN News, Washington.
The source for your news, CBNnews.com.
CBNnews.com, where you'll find powerful stories of God at work around the world. From a pastor leading the fight against child sacrifice in Uganda.
I had high hopes and dreams for Clive.
We're here to rescue this little girl. We're in ISIS territory, surrounded by them.
To amazing feats of faith and stories of redemption.
Being in the porn industry, I lost hope. And Jesus gave me hope.
Find exclusive and compelling stories like these only at CBNnews.com.
Films with faith themes fared well at the box office in 2017. Those numbers have Hollywood paying attention to what believers want to see. Our Entertainment News magazine Studio 5 has this look at 5 films you want to watch for this year.
At number 5. Clint Eastwood's 1517 to Paris tells the real-life story of 3 brave Americans whose action turned them into heroes aboard a high-speed train ride through Europe. And Anthony Sadler, Alex Skarlatos, and Spencer Stone play themselves.
I just look around sometimes and I'll look at Mr. Eastwood like across the room and I'll be like, oh my God, I'm standing here playing myself in a Clint Eastwood movie about my life.
It's kind of like living it twice. We've experienced something amazing, so it's coming full circle. We get to relive 2 years ago how we were, so it's cool to see how far we've came in between.
The whole thing has just been kind of mind-blowing for me. To be referred to as heroes is kind of a trip, and to be honest, we're just incredibly grateful that we survived that day. It was just kind of acting on impulse and God watching out for us or something, because we made it out alive.
I've looked at a lot of actors, good actors too, but I kept looking at the guys and I kept looking at their faces. And finally one day I just said, do you guys think you could play yourself? And the more they thought about it, the more they got with it. And it turned out that they had a lot of natural gift. And it also was a bit of a catharsis for them to go back and relive the moment.
The film is in theaters February 9th. At number 4, PureFlix brings the biblical story of Samson to the big screen.
Samson of the tribe of Dan, chosen by the living God, gifted with his power to be his hand of vengeance.
This film is in theaters February 16th. At number 3.
When I was 10, 11 years old, life was tough. And I found some songs that I just, I held on to. And they got me through. They gave me hope. Because I needed it. Maybe tonight, so do you.
The new year brings I Can Only Imagine from the Irwin Brothers in theaters March 16th.
It's an amazing song.
Just kind of happened. Took about 10 minutes, I guess.
It didn't take you 10 minutes to write this. It took a lifetime.
It's the story behind Mercy Me's 1999 hit and one of the most played Christian radio singles in history.
It was a tragic relationship, and his dad, his dying wish was to reconcile to his son. And it was that reconciliation between a father and son that inspired the song I Can Only Imagine.
At number 2.
St. James Church has become a beacon of violence and controversy. And it has no place on Hadley University campus.
God's Not Dead, A Light in Darkness is in theaters March 30th.
Yeah, this is the way I roll.
It looks like you got a black eye.
I know.
So is that part of the story?
Yeah, it is part of the story. It is.
Okay.
Reverend Dave has so many things go wrong in his life in this story.
You don't get to play innocent. You did this.
What you're doing, it's against the law.
Is this the final act for God's Not Dead?
I think it's the final act where we're at. Whether or not the franchise goes on in a different way, I don't know. But it certainly could be the final act for Reverend Dave.
The whole world knows what the church is against, but it's getting harder and harder to know what it's for.
What am I doing wrong?
At number 1.
This is your Louis talking. I am now interned in a Tokyo prisoner of war camp. I can't say this. What it says about America, it's not true.
This man must be taught respect.
Angelina Jolie first brought the Lou Zamperini Unbroken story to the big screen in 2014. And we'll see more of his story this year. Studio 5 made an exclusive visit to the set for the filming of Unbroken, Path to Redemption. With vintage cars like this pretty red Ford, the stage is set for the 1940s. A young Lou Zamperini and his wife Cynthia are coming here to the tent you see in the distance to hear from a young evangelist who has not quite made a name for himself on the national scene, evangelist Billy Graham. And the role of Billy Graham is being played by his grandson.
Strength and stamina I had all these years.
I can't believe, why is it taking so long to make a movie about Billy Graham? This is awesome.
He's coming and his grandson gets to play him. It is certainly worth seeing. And watching him deliver the sermons, beautifully done.
Oh, wow.
Beautifully done.
You must be so excited. There's so much to see.
So much to see. Keep watching.
Keep watching. Amen. Amen. Well, not too long ago, a mother and son reunited after a 50-year separation. Charlene Aaron shows us how a mother's perseverance and prayer finally paid off.
At 2 years old, Kirk Kellerhals was adopted from an orphanage in Vietnam. After growing up in America raised by Christian parents, the 47-year-old never imagined meeting his biological mother.
I've grown up ever since I was old enough to know that I was adopted with the notion that my parents perished in the Vietnam War.
But that's not what happened.
I know it's been a few long days for me. I can't imagine how long this trip has been for her.
This amazing turnaround began just weeks after Kellerhals received an email from a woman urging him to give her a call.
Hello?
Yes, hello, who that call?
Yes, I'm returning a call to this number.
I am looking for my son. I've been looking for him for a long time, and I believe you are my son.
Fast forward to June 6, 2017, when CBN News documented the long-awaited moment for Kellerhals and his birth mother, Twee Nati Niblett. Niblett and her husband drove from San Antonio to Virginia Beach for the emotional reunion.
Thank you so much, God. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing my son to me. Thank you so much. Oh, God, I love you so much. Thank you so much, God. Thank you, Jesus. I know you know where my son is.
Niblett became pregnant at just 17 during the Vietnam War. She says when her father learned of the pregnancy, he became angry because she wasn't married. Plus, the father was an American soldier. She told us what her father did the day her son was born.
Took the baby right after I happened. I knew it was a boy. I know it was a boy.
Niblett also suffered physical abuse for refusing to go along with a hastily arranged marriage. Kellerhals' biological father transferred to another military base and never knew about the pregnancy. The two eventually lost contact. Niblett came to the U.S. in 1971 and never stopped praying that she would one day find her son. After many disappointments, she turned to the internet and family tree DNA just 2 years ago. Meanwhile, Kellerhals had hesitated to look, although he had always wanted to know more about his birth family. Finally, he decided to take a chance, and just days after going to the same website, was notified about a possible match.
It said parent-child match. I just kind of shook my head and thought, no, there's a mistake. That's impossible.
That unlikelihood turned out to be the answer to his mother's unwavering prayers.
I just knew that it was my son because I've been praying.
Days after connecting with his mom, Kellerhals also met a brother and sister he never knew existed. Family members are thankful for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
God has always been faithful, and this has all happened in His timing, and we're grateful for that.
I feel blessed.
What are you going to call Grandma?
Grandma.
Kellerhals and Niblett hope their story inspires others.
Continue believing. Sooner or later, God going to open that door.
We have to be patient. We have to be faithful, as Mom put it, and trust in His perfect timing.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Wow.
All right, if you're not crying,
I know.
I don't know.
I know.
You're not human, right?
Thank you for watching this CBN Showcase special.
Remember, you can find more stories at cbnnews.com or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Until next time, goodbye and God bless.